Wendy here. Welcome to another video. Today I thought it might be interesting to swatch out all of my yellow art supplies. I have some random swatch books where I've got maybe all my watercolors swatched, or I think I started a sketchbook somewhere where I had some of my colored pencils. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool to see a sheet with all of my different art materials in the same hue family on one sheet? And so I took all my art supplies, almost all my art supplies. I didn't do my oil paints because this is not going to be very conducive to oil painting. But all the other art supplies, and I separated them all into color families. And today I want to do all of my yellows, and I have a variety of different material. As you can see, I've got some acrylic ink, water-soluble pencils, gouache, markers, watercolors, liquid watercolors, water-soluble, they're called art bars, and some colored pencils. And so I want to get those all swatched out, and we could take a look at all the different tones of yellow together. Okay, because I'm a little bit neurotic about certain things, I thought it would look nice if I gridded out a bunch of equally sized squares that I will do my swatching on. Yeah, I'm a little bit maybe OCD about some things. I think it'll just bug me if they're all random shapes and sizes. So here we go. You know what? I probably should have pre-sharpened all of these. I'm going to start with my colored pencils first. The colored pencils that I have the most of are these Prismacolor watercolor pencils that I have actually had since high school. So they are the older ones. The newer Prismacolors, you can tell they're older because of the branding, the logo that's on them. The newer ones now look like, do I got one here? Yeah, they look more like this now. The logo has changed a little bit. They actually put the color name on it, whereas before they just put a number on the end. I've looked it up and found all the numbers, or the names for the numbers, so I'll have that for you. But yeah, these are old school Prismacolors that I have had since high school, and I find that the new ones are just not as good as these. The new ones seem to break like all the time when you're sharpening them. I think it has something to do with they've changed the manufacturer, and if you look at some of the new ones when you go to buy them, check the end and see if the lead, the colored part, is centered within your colored pencil, because I think if it's a little off-centered when you go to sharpen it, I think that that's one thing that makes them break. I could be completely wrong. Maybe they've just changed the formula of wax. Maybe they've changed the type of wood. I'm not sure, but I'm not as happy with the new ones anymore. So I've started experimenting with other brands of colored pencils. One such brand being these Derwent Coloursoft. So I have a set of these that I will be swatching along with everything else. So I'm going to start with my colored pencils, and I'm going to go from sort of light to dark in each medium as I do them. So I'm going to start with the colored pencils, as I said, and I'm going to start with this one here, which is Prismacolor 914, which the internet tells me is named Cream. Appropriately enough. Oh, it just broke. That's so sad. And here I was just saying all the new ones broke. Let me resharpen. I have a really good burr grinder pencil sharpener somewhere in this room. I know I had it when we moved. I packed it, I unpacked it, and now I can't find it. So I'm stuck using my little manual ones. Okay, here we go again. I'm getting quite a bit of shadow. Fix this. If I move this light over here. You should see my lighting setup. It's really quite ridiculous. Maybe this one needs to be brighter. A little better. Okay. It's quite pale. I'm not sure how this is going to show up on camera. I'm going to do a nice, solid, dark swatching, and then I'll gradate it out to a lighter It's not really a wash, it's pencil, but still, I've gradiated it out to a lighter tone. The paper that I'm coloring on is actually a watercolor paper, and it is a hot press watercolor paper, which means it's very smooth. And I wanted to use this paper because I wanted it both to be smooth for the colored pencils and the markers, but also I wanted it to be watercolor paper for swatching out the watercolors. So I thought this was a good, happy choice. And besides, I bought this this watercolor paper block a while ago, and I actually don't like watercoloring on it, but it is this brand, Fluid 100. It is 100% cotton watercolor paper, hot press finish, 140 pounds, acid-free, 8x8, very smooth, but just enough of a tooth to catch the pencil on. Okay. Next one I'm going to do is number 915, and this one is called Lemon Yellow. And yep, that is a lemon yellow. I really want to get back into using my colored pencils. I was really into it for a while, and I just sort of grabbed my pencils and a sketchbook, and I'd go sit on the couch and just do all kinds of doodling and designs. I got out of it. I'm not really sure why. It happens sometimes. I want to actually get into doing some mixed media colored pencil and watercolor together. I really like the look of that, where you do base washes with your watercolor and then you go over top of it with colored pencil for texture and detail. Okay, the next one I'm going to do here is 916, which is Canary Yellow. I'm sorry if you can hear squeaking in the background. My chair is squeaky. Hopefully the mic's not going to pick it up, but we'll see. These pencils are going on very nice and smooth on this paper. I'll try to zoom in for a nice closer look here in a bit so you can see them all. Okay, next, 917. Apparently I've used this one quite a bit too. And this color is called Sunburnt Yellow. Okay, now this one's more of a earthy yellow. This is 942, and it is a yellow ochre, which is a very excuse me, a very earthy yellow. Get off of there. Maybe I could even actually color a perfect square or close to by the time I'm done all of this. Okay, I'm gonna, is that all of them? No, it's not. I have the Derwent Coloursoft, which is also ochre. It's C590. So like I said, this is one of the new ones that I've been experimenting with. I do believe that these are both wax-based colored pencils. So, I mean, they feel relatively the same. This ochre is more orangey than the Prismacolor orange, as you can see here side by side. But I'm used to ochre, I mean, I don't know. The only ochre color that I'm used to is yellow ochre. So the Prismacolor one seems more accurate to me, but what do I know? It could be, there could be multiple ochres that I'm just not aware of. Actually, I almost guarantee it. I don't know if it's the paper or the pencils, but I'm noticing there's little, when I'm just dragging lightly, there's little flecks in this one here. And not as much, but also here. I just do the light one. Maybe it's the pencil, maybe it's just leaving little crumbs that are more pigmented. Not sure. Okay, so that's it for my yellow colored pencils. The next I'm going to do all my yellow water-soluble things. And I say that because I've got these art bars by Derwent. I'm heavy-handed and I've broken a couple of them. But they are called Derwent Art Bars, and that is upside down. And they're a water-soluble waxy stick of pigment. I'm not sure what the binder is. I'm not sure if they're light fast. I'm not sure what that triangle represents, if anything. But this color is Process Yellow, which if you are familiar with the actual true primaries or the printing primaries, which is CMY, cyan, magenta, and yellow, this would be your Process Yellow. I think I'll do I'll color most of this, and then I'll just only water activate some of it so that we can see both the crayon-y state and the watered out state. Sorry, my voice is a little croaky. I'm going to leave just this little end bit here clear because I want to drag the water through it and do like a wash. I've just got some clean water off here to the left, and I got a watercolor paintbrush here. Not enough water. It's what it always feels like when you're using hot press paper. It always feels like there's not enough water, like it just soaks in way too fast. So it re-wets over top of itself quite nicely, but not enough to do, like you can't really pull out the color a lot. You probably can't see it very well now, but probably later when it dries, you can see the definite line where I have stopped coloring, and then it's just the watered activated pigment on the edge. And you can definitely see a difference there. Oops, bumped the camera, sorry. Sorry. Okay, so that is that one. The next one that I also broke is primary yellow. So this is more your basic yellow that we know from elementary school, the primary yellow. So it'll be a little bit darker. The process yellow is a little bit closer to a lemon, but clearly not as lemony. Actually, it's pretty close to this canary yellow. I'm finding it very difficult with my little broken chunky pieces here to get a nice square line. Square line? Nice straight line to make a square. This one's quite crumbly. I don't know if it's picking it up on camera, but it's crumbled off quite a bit as I was using it. Okay, back to the water. I have in other colors later, when I do my other color charts, some things similar to this, but it's by the Caran d'Ache company. And I've watched a few YouTubers who love them and use them all the time. So I bought just a few colors, not a yellow one, but I did buy a few colors, and I will be trying those in my other color charts later on. That one actually seemed to water activate just a little bit better. You can still see where I've stopped coloring, but not quite as much. Okay, the last yellow art bar that I have here is A37. It's called Honeycomb. This one here is sort of weird. It's got these little flecks of red that you can really see on the stick itself, but not so much when you use it. And there's another weird thing about this. I really hope this shows up on camera. Can you see the difference between what this looks like just as is and what it looks like when you actually put it on paper? They are completely different. Like, it doesn't even look like I'm using the same the same tool to make this color, but that is it. And it must be those red flecks, and it's such a weird It's so weird. But this is why it's also a good idea to do swatches of your new materials, because of things like this. You could pick this up thinking you're going to get this sort of greeny, mustardy, desaturated yellow, and instead you're going to get this orangey color. Okay, and water. That one was quite streaky to use. Can't say it's one of my favorite, but if you're looking for texture. And then once water activated, it's a totally different color again. Not as stark of a difference as between the base stick and the colored on the paper, but I really hope that shows up on camera. It's so crazy, bizarre, different. Okay. The next water-soluble thing I'm going to use is this Derwent watercolor pencil, and this color is Deep Cadmium 6. I don't know if colored pencils actually use real cadmium pigments in them, or if it's more like a simulation, a hue, if you will. This feels drier and chalkier to color with than the color pencils above did, but that's probably due to the binder. I'm not sure what the binder is in this that is water soluble, but of course the wax above would not be water soluble, and it's quite smooth and, well, waxy. Okay. Oh, that wets nicely. It's so pretty and bright once it's wet. It's a very sunny yellow. Much more yellow than the just colored part, because the colored part's got a little bit of an orangey hue to it. And again, you can definitely see where I've stopped coloring and just pulled the water, so the pigment doesn't completely. What I'm trying to say is, if you were to color and then wet these, you would see where you had colored underneath. It wouldn't completely dissolve. Does that make better sense? Okay, what do I want to do next? I think I will do my watercolors. And I have a lot of those. Okay, I got those sort of in a light to dark order. So I'm going to start with this first one, Winsor Newton. This is one of their newer packaged products. The older packaging looked like this, and you'll see most of mine are these tiny little 5mm tubes in this older packaging, because I actually, when I first wanted to get into watercolor, I bought a large lot of watercolor off of eBay. So I'm not sure if it's somebody just wasn't painting anymore, maybe they inherited their aunt's art supplies or whatever, but it was a whole lot of them. And I actually had lemon yellow in this old one and used it all up, so I went and bought this new one. Clearly I have not used this one. I've hardly used this one at all, but most of them you'll see are this older packaging because of that big lot that I bought. And I got it for a good price. I can't remember what the total price was, but it ended up being like less than $2 per tube, which if you look at the price of paint, that's really good. Okay, I think I'm just going to pull some off at the top here instead of you know, mixing it out on a palette. So again, this is Winsor Newton Lemon Yellow. I don't know if you got any, if there are any pigment nerds out there in the audience, such as myself, but I'm always interested in the pigments of my paints. And this one is Pigment 175. I'm not sure if that's going to show up. And this is a very transparent watercolor. Just get this out here at full strength from the tube, and then we'll add some water and dilute it out as watercolors are meant to be. Some people don't like using lemon yellow because it's too harsh and too bright, but if you're doing, I was into doing botanicals for a while, and sometimes some flowers just have that intense bright yellow in parts of them, and this is really good for that. And it also mixes with like an alizarin crimson and makes incredibly vibrant oranges and peaches and stuff like that too. So okay, and the next one I'm going to do is called, I believe it's pronounced Aureolin, and this one is pigment yellow 40. And it's not too much darker than the lemon yellow, but it is just, oh geez, that one kind of, it's already popping out. There must have been an air bubble or something in there. I moved recently up over the mountains, and a lot of these paints haven't been opened since I went up over the mountains, so I don't know if maybe it's that travel that kind of did that, but anyways, a little more water. I think it is a nice bright yellow. It's just a little bit darker than the lemon. I like to paint a little bit of clear water up to the point where I painted to see how the pigment and the clean water interact. Okay, next one is a pretty, I'd say neutral yellow. Would be good for your base yellow in any palette, and it's just a Winsor yellow. And this one is pigment yellow 154. Ah, that one's tight. Ouch. Pretty similar to the Aureolin, actually. Okay, now I got a couple more here that are a little bit more orangey. This first one here is New Gamboge, pigment 153. Shoot. Get off. Looks very, very orange right out of the tube. But as it dilutes, it does get yellowier. It's still pretty warm orangey yellow. Okay, the next warm yellow I have here is Cadmium Yellow, pale. Cadmium itself is toxic, but I don't plan on eating this or drinking the water afterwards, so I think I'll be okay. Not quite as orangey as the New Gamboge, but it's still warm. Much more opaque. All the CAD colors are very opaque. Didn't leave myself enough room to let the water blend well. I gotta stop doing that over my paper. It crumbs all over this one. Whatever, I'll clean it off after. Okay, my last orangey yellow is Indian yellow. And there's a few colors that start with the Indian in front of it. And I did some research on that because somebody had made a comment to me once that it was racist. It is named as such because the original pigments, they originally came from India. And from what I read, they came from cow poop, actually, in India, depending on the diets of certain cows. In certain areas, their poop would have these pigments, and it was harvested and turned into paint colors. Yeah. So this particular one, it's a 2-pigment color, and it's got pigment yellow 153, and it's got pigment orange 62. This is one of my favorites. I find that the variation that you can get from the nice deep orangey color to a nice happy yellowy color is quite nice. It's quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Thick? Pasty? It's quite pasty. Dry? There, see, it's the orangiest of my yellows. You can see there how orangey that is. And then as it dilutes out, you'll see that it gets this warm, sunny yellow. And I don't think it'll show up too much on this smooth paper, but it does granulate somewhat. If you like granulating watercolors. Okay, I have a few more here, and these are sort of more earthy, I guess you could say earthy colors. But still, I still felt that they were yellow enough to go on my yellow chart. The first one is Naples yellow, which is a very creamy, warm, sandy sort of yellow. And it is got titanium white, so pigment white 6 and pigment brown 24. Technically, not a yellow at all. It's a brown, but it's very yellowy, so it is going on my yellow chart. I just got paint all over the lid of my liquid watercolor. So yeah, you can see I still think that's yellow. Even though it's a brown, I still think it's yellow and it belongs here. The next one is also a brown. It's one of the earth colors that a lot of people have in their palettes, and it's raw sienna. And I find Winsor Newton's raw sienna is very yellowy. Some other companies, their versions of raw sienna are more orange, but I find this one very pale and yellowy. So I'm putting it on my yellow chart. And this one is, so this has got 2 pigments in it as well. It's pigment yellow 42 and pigment red 101. It looks like a light brown when it's first out of the tube. Caramel almost. But as you water it out, thin it out, dilute it, whatever, you can see it gets more of that orangey yellow vibe going on. I guess it could have gone. I'm going to do another sheet that's got all my oranges and peaches on it, and I guess this probably could have gone on that. It's kind of one of those ones that's right in the middle. It could have gone on either of them. So the next two are actually got they're the same name, but they're different pigments and by different companies. And this too is one of my all-time favorite pigments. Hold on, I'm just getting a low battery thing here. These both have the same name, but they have different pigments in them, and they have different color, the different brands. This one here is a true Quinacridone Gold, which you can't actually buy anymore. But I'll show you the difference here in a second. Let's see if I can find the pigment information. Oh, there we go. Nope. Oh, right there. Okay, it was there. So originally, Quinacridone Gold was pigment orange, again, kind of more of an orange, but you'll see it looks more yellowy, in my opinion. 49. This pigment is no longer available. And when I found out that Daniel Smith had bought the last of that pigment and they were finally running out of it, I went and hoarded up like a bunch of these tubes from the couple of the local art stores that were near me of that that single pigment orange. And then now it's been replaced with a double pigment, which I think is, because this one is 49, I think the new one's like 152 and 48, I think, to make a similar color. And then with this one here, the Winsor Newton one, it's not like a true Quin Gold. It's got pigment red 206, pigment violet 219, and pigment yellow 15. I want to say 2, but it might be a 0. I can't tell. It's right in the crease there. So it's a 3 pigment color. So I'll show you the difference between these two here. I'll do the Winsor Newton first. Oop, that's another one's kind of blopping out there. Very rich. And again, this is one of those colors, like it starts out quite orangey, but then once I dilute it out, you'll see it gets kind of more yellowy, which is why I put it on my yellow chart. I'm hoping these charts will help me in the future if I start doing more mixed media, like I was saying, like watercolor and colored pencils. I'll have all my different colors together in one chart, so I'll be able to tell which ones I want to put together in any particular art piece or illustration. So there's the Winsor Newton 3 pigment Quin Orange, Quinacridone Orange. I always say Quin because, well, that's quicker. And now here's the Daniel Smith, and I personally prefer Daniel Smith, but that's because I really like their paints tend to granulate more, and I really like granulating watercolors. I just think that they're really fun to work with. I also find that the Daniel Smith's single pigment version, I haven't tried their new replacement, but this one here just feels richer to me than the Winsor Newton version. I also don't know how well you're going to see any kind of granulation on this smooth paper. It's not super it's not super granulating, but okay. So that is it for the regular tube watercolors. What do I got left here? I've got some markers, some ink. I have liquid watercolors. Oh, and gouache. Alrighty. I think I'm going to jump back down to this line for these next ones, just in case I end up getting more yellows in the future. Sorry, I'm just getting rid of these crumbs that I've gotten all over here. That's better. I'm not planning on buying any more, but I do seem to have a little bit of a hoarding problem when it comes to art supplies. It's a thing I'm trying to fix. So these next two, they are by, I'm just going to shake them up. Hold on. Okay, good enough. So these are also watercolors, but they are liquid watercolors in that they are already mixed with a liquid binder of some sort. And they're super concentrated. So you only just need a tiny little drop, and you can either use them 100% concentrated like this right from the little dropper, or you can mix them with water. Because like I said, they're quite concentrated. A little drop goes a long way. So the first one that I have here is Hansa Yellow Light. Just get a tiny little drop out. Loop. And brush it out. Very nice, solid coverage. Gotta stop hitting that camera. This is actually very similar to Lemon Yellow, the Hansa Yellow Light. If you're looking for another alternative for lemon, Hansa Yellow Light is one of those. And the next one is Gamboge. I'm assuming it'll be similar to, which one is it? This one here, New Gamboge. I haven't used these much. I bought these because when I was taking an illustration course, my instructor said he loved them and used them all the time. So using a Michaels 40% off coupon, I went down and bought myself a set of 12 colors, 10, 12 colors. I can't remember what was in the set. Oh crap, look what I did. Oh well. So it is sort of similar in hue, but it's way more saturated. I said just a little tiny bit goes a long way with these. Beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna put the gouache beside that. Now I also got gouache on a, not really a whim, but I wanted to try it because I have seen people online using it and I love the results they get. That really graphic, flat, matte look that you can get. I've tried painting with them a couple times. I am not that good. I may continue working with them, I may not. But also, there's another kind of gouache called acrylic gouache, which is more like acrylic paint in that when it dries, it's permanent. Where this stuff, when it dries, it's very easily re-wet. So even though people say you can layer light over dark, I have not yet been that successful, but I think it has something to do with the consistency and how much paint I have on my brush versus water. Similar rules to oil painting, I think. And because I'm very new to oil painting, I don't know those rules very well. But we're going to put these out here too. And so these are Winsor Newton Designer Gouache, as you can see, and this is primary yellow. Gouache is not intended to be used right out of the tube. It's quite thick and difficult to manipulate with your brushes. It's intended to be mixed with a little bit of water. Just to help, you're supposed to make it like a thick cream texture, I believe. So this is a little bit better. And I'll just, like with the watercolors, I'll just bring this out and see how it doesn't really interact with the water so much the way watercolor does, but I believe the pigments are just not designed for that. But you can thin it out and get lighter washes. Okie dokie. Oops, I bumped it again. Maybe I'll move my water. I'm going to move my water cup over here. And maybe I will stop bumping the camera. Okay. Next we have Permanent Yellow Deep. So this is going to be a warmer, deeper yellow. I can't believe I made it almost all the way through my chair before I decided to move that stupid water cup. I'm almost done with the water media too. Okay, and here's our earth yellow, yellow ochre. The other thing about gouache is it's very opaque as opposed to watercolor, which is very transparent. So you're supposed to be able to layer gouache because it's more opaque. Whereas you can layer watercolor, but it's more like glazing a color. You'll always see the color underneath it. Okay, almost there. So I have a Winsor Newton ink, and these inks are very transparent. And then I have these much more opaque Rowney acrylic ink. And I'm actually going to use, I know I was going light to dark, but I'm going to go dark to light this time because I want to cover up my boo-boo with some opaque ink. So this is actually like an acrylic paint. So it's very permanent once dry, opaque, the whole bit, but super, super liquidy like ink. My dropper's plugged. Well, let's see what I can get out here. That should be enough. It's so messy. But it's a very pretty color. Oh yeah, this is also Indian yellow. It's one of my favorite colors, so it's not really surprising that I got it also in the ink. I like Indian yellow, I like Quinacridone gold, and I like Payne's gray. But it's very nice and smooth, and it lays out very nice. And I have to take a quick break because my dog has to go to the bathroom. Hold on. Okay, so I'm back, and I think my dog actually wants dinner because she didn't go outside when I let her out, tried to let her out. But I'm so close to being done. I'm going to try to push through this and get these last 3 done, and I'm very sorry if you hear her barking. So you may or may not have heard of these, the Winsor Newton drawing inks. This is Canary Yellow 937. Ink may be thinned with distilled water. Well, you're getting tap water today, sorry. Now there is no dropper for this, so I'm going to just clean my brush really, really well. With clean water off to the left, and then I have like my dirty water, I guess, on the right. It's just all yellow, but I'm just going to pick up a little bit of that. I don't use these very often, but I thought that I might, so that's why I bought them. It's just soaking right into that paper. Like, there's no possibility of me, see that she's barking again. No possibility of getting a gradient wash with this stuff. It just soaked right into the paper almost immediately. Okay, the last 2 are not water media. The last 2 are markers. Now, I was really, really into these Copic markers too for a while, and so I have a couple of handfuls of them. Usually I have a dark and a light version of all the hues that I was interested in at the time because I was really enjoying blending them. And I used them a lot and then just sort of stopped, and I'm not really sure why. I think it's because it's really difficult to find good paper, and this is not going to be ideal for these, but you'll see the colors anyways. So the colors that I have are yellow 00, which is barium yellow. It's the lightest yellow. Well, it's not the lightest that they carry. It's the lightest I have. And then yellow, acid yellow, Y08. Not sure why it's called acid yellow. It's more like it's just more like a normal yellow. Sorry, she's barking again. I'm almost done, Coda. I'm almost done. So you can see this is very, very pale. I'm going to put another, so that's my second coat and my third coat. Markers, you can layer them up to get darker tones. And then here's the acid. See, this doesn't seem very acidy to me. Almost sunny, actually. See the gradient in that one more than you can in that one. There you go. There are all my yellows. I am going to go feed my dog and make her happy, and then I will come back and we can have a nice close-up look of all of these colors. And there we have it. There is all the pretty happy sunshiny yellows that I have. I'll see if I can get in a little closer here. We'll just sort of take a look at all them colored pencils there along the top. The water-soluble pencils and other art bar thingies. The watercolors. There's all the happy, sunny yellows. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking around. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. If you're not already, please consider subscribing. There will be more content like this in the future, as well as other art-related videos. I think my yellows are pretty well balanced, except for perhaps in the colored pencils. I might get myself a Indian yellow, that orangey yellow or new Gamboge type of colored pencil. What is your go-to must-have yellow in your palette? Let me know in the comments below. And thanks for watching, and until the next time, have a wonderful day. Bye.